Guys, so the Kneecap Pass is one of the most powerful passes in all of jiu-jitsu, but I see a lot of confusion about the right way to do it. So the purpose of this video is going to give you an overview of understanding what the pass is about and how you can set it up in different ways. If you guys like the content, as always, like and comment and let me know what you'd like to see in future videos. Not only does it give me new ideas, but it also helps support the channel. Thanks. Okay, so the first thing to understand is the Kneecap Pass is very different depending on the grips the guy has. It's not always going to be the same pass. There's not like one way you always do it. We have to change it depending on many different grips and situations, okay? So loosely defined, the Kneecap Pass is basically any pass where I trap this leg. I'm going to come through with my knee in some way, and I'm going to pin his lower body facing one direction, and I'm going to use some kind of a mechanic to rotate his upper body the opposite direction. How that looks can vary a lot. It could be a cross collar grip and like my forearm pressuring his face. It could be me pulling up on this elbow or sleeve, which rotates his body this way and I slide through. It could be an underhook with chest pressure. It could be my left arm cross facing and pressuring. But there's a lot of different ways, but usually the end is always going to end with some kind of a mechanic rotating the guy this way while my bottom leg is pinning his lower half to the floor, creating kind of an alternating motion, okay? So now we're going to talk about how to assess the situations to decide which knee cut you should use next. So we're going to start off with doing the knee cut from no grips with our opponent on his back. Later on, we're going to deal with what to do if your opponent's sitting up, but I think a good foundational way to understand is on the back. Okay, so the first thing, the two main ways my opponent is going to be when I enter is either centered with his legs kind of tight like this, or he's going to be wide-legged or side tilted like this, okay? So when the guy's legs are a little bit centered, I'm going to show how to deal with this later, but that's actually a little bit harder. Usually when his legs are more centered like this, I'm looking for either like Toreando passes or stack passes, and that's kind of how I threaten there. And I will show how to do it from there later. But the first one we're gonna deal with is gonna be when the guy's side tilted. So maybe I come in, he's centered, I start to threaten his Toreando, and he kind of turns sideways. Whenever he's turned sideways and I see this top leg kind of open, this is a great time to go for it. This bottom leg is down, there's this kind of opening feeling. What I want to do is I want to go in with my right forearm towards the lapel. I'm going to use my forearm and my shoulder pressure to kind of hit this leg as my right shin drops on his thigh, and it creates this kind of like wishbone effect on his legs. This makes it super hard for the guy to lasso, no matter how flexible he is. Even if he frames me with his hands here, like this, I can kind of grab his tricep or his sleeve and I lean through, right? And one big thing to stop the lasso is once I get my back in front of this leg, a lot of people think the way to stop the lasso is to get really tight with your head. But if the guy is really flexible, he'll be able to push your shoulder and his foot will come over, especially if he's hyper flexible. Once I get through with my back though, no matter how flexible the guy is, his leg cannot come up and get through this, right? So I can kind of dig through here. So a lot of times I'll be here assessing the situation. I see the guy's open and I feel this moment right here. I can even try to open it a little bit with my forearm here. See, I see this angle wide open and I hit right in there and go. Okay, again, to get a clean knee cut, it's not about forcing the knee cut you want. It's about seeing the situation and choosing the right choice for the situation. So the start point is the guy's legs are kind of wide. We move him to the side, you see that opening, and then you drop in. Okay, so let's look at another common sequence off of this entrance. So sometimes I'm gonna come in here and I start to get in and he's gonna get this lasso. Okay, whenever I do this one, because he's kind of wide-legged, I can usually pin this to the floor or at minimum get my arm on the inside so I kind of have this pressure as I come in. Now he lassos his foot on my shoulder. All I'm gonna do is I kind of circle back. I keep my left hand framing this forearm and I'm gonna kind of pressure with my elbow to dip under this. And now I'm gonna lift my right foot in the air and place my knee on the mat right here to go through for the cut. We'll do that from another angle. So we're again from another angle, I'm here, I get the lapel, I come in, he starts lassoing, I circle back and I kind of use my forearm pressure, my shoulder pressure. I wanna make sure to keep this connected so I don't open up for an omoplata. Now as I go here, I can kind of get my head under and start shooting my knee through to finish the Kneecap Pass. Okay, that's kind of a series from passing, collar, sleeve, and there's other options than just the knee cut there, but the purpose of this video is to focus on the knee cut in multiple situations. I'll do a separate video where I go really in depth on passing the collar, sleeve. All right, so let's look at the second way to enter for the knee cut with no grips. So the classic way we enter is we usually go for this lapel and enter here, which is really good when this leg is more open, right? But sometimes what'll happen is as I enter and the guy's still side tilted, he's gonna be more knee shielded. And when he's knee shielded, if I go for this lapel, it's really hard because he can kind of break the grip. And if I go here, he can still kind of frame me out, so it's very difficult. So this is more like the classic Homolo Bahal style. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna control this top leg, and of course I could threaten other passes with it. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna control this top leg, and I'm gonna push it behind me as I drop in and grab the lapel with my left hand. This way I've completely cleared this top leg out of the way. He can no longer lasso with it. He can no longer knee shield with it. I have this lapel to pull tight and frame. His bottom leg is trapped, and now it's easier to start progressing to different pass finish variations, okay? Sometimes when I enter, I can really push this leg all the way through, but even if I can't, I'll just shoot my knee like a nail to his armpit here. In this position, when I have the lapel or the forearm, is very difficult to get out of. So if he starts framing me here, when I have this lapel, it's hard to get this leg out. I can kind of take my time and start pushing this leg behind, and now I can pummel and start working for the finish here. So again, from another angle, when I come in here, I have this top leg, I shoot in, I get this here, and I push this behind. Even if the knee shield is in a little bit, I keep my knee heavy. In this knee cut variation, I don't want to drop with my shin as much as I want to go with my knee like a nail, right? So my knee is dropping like a nail like this, right? It makes it way sharper when I cut in. So I drop here, and now this top arm can push this behind. Here, I'll pummel this out of the way, drop, and slide through. Another way I really like to set this one up is when I threaten like Toreandos, a lot of guys will frame with his hand. So he's usually protecting this elbow knee space a little bit, so it can be tricky. But when I go for the Toreando and he frames here, if I leave my shoulder weight on that arm, it makes it way easier for my knee to drop in this elbow knee space hole. Now I can grab this tricep, push, dig through, and start finishing. All right, so another common response once we actually enter into this kind of top style control, so just stand back. Okay, is once we get in here, guys will start grabbing this kind of single leg grip on your leg, right? If I stay, and this is not a big deal, we can pass this position, but the mechanics for finishing is a little bit different. For one, I don't have an underhook with my right arm, and two, there's the threat that if I let him come up on his elbow, come up on your elbow now, he's gonna start trying to come up into a single leg, okay? So I have to manage all this. So I know this is gonna happen when I come in on this pass, so as I get in here, as he gets here, I'm gonna look to get a hold of this sleeve, right? There's a lot of different ways I can do this, but the main idea is I want to center him flat so I can get a finishing grip. So the easiest one to start with is I'm just going to grab his sleeve with my left hand. I'm going to use my right hand on his shoulder. If his shoulder's too turned in and I can't push, I can even grab this material on the back here. You can kind of go around there. Right? I can even grab this material on the back here, and now I step my left foot in, I kind of back my right leg up a little bit. Stay turned into me really hard. I back my right leg up a little bit, and I use my knee to center him up. Once I center him up, now I can start looking for a passing grip. Like I talked about in the beginning, I need to rotate his upper body away. The problem is if we're here and I try to go all the way through, I can't rotate his upper body away. He's gonna turn into me. So when I center him back up, now I can turn this right arm into a deep collar grip, and I get forearm pressure on the face. Now I cut my knee to the floor. I post my hand so I can lean all my body weight on this arm and get the face crank to finish the pass here. Alternatively, when I enter in this position, if I get the sleeve in here and I center him up a little bit, this is also a good time to dig an underhook. When the underhook, I turn my hand backwards, I go through this gap, and when I go here, I want to keep my arm straight as a board. I don't want to pull. When I go straight, see, try to turn into me. Into me, yeah. See, my right arm being straight, it's like a wall. Now I can dig that arm off, and now I can get really deep. I can grab the crossface, grab the tricep here, start finishing through. One other variation on this finish is when I'm here, I get this sleeve, I center up, is you can get this crossface with your left arm. The only thing is, as he turns in, some guys will try to rock you. So what I like to do is when I get this crossface, I take my right hand here, and I'm gonna grab his hips like this, right? Once I grab this hip, I can now get crossface pressure, keep turning into me. I can get crossface pressure, and pulling this up again rotates his hips into me as I force his upper body the opposite direction, and I get a lot of pass pressure to finish here. This is one Rodolfo Vieira used to pass Lucas Lech, who's got a famous half guard game. So one other common sequence when you enter with this position is as you enter in, the guy's gonna get this grip around your back into this kind of dogfight situation is what people call it. Or even if he just grabs the single leg, he might already be up on his elbow, okay? So when he's up on his elbow, if I start chasing the sleeve here, it's too late. If I chase the sleeve and try to put him back down, he's gonna come up into the single leg. So because of how I enter, I often already have this pant grip here like this, right? So when I have this pant grip and he starts coming up on his elbow, if I elevate this leg here, like this, see, keep coming up on the single leg, he can't come up. He needs that leg to be able to come up. So what I do is I start pulling this leg up, and I try to use my right knee to put him back to the floor. It's the same thing if he has the wrap around my hip with your left arm. Here, then he starts coming up, I elevate this, and you see my right knee, I turn it in. And what I want to focus on here, turn this way, is my right leg when I'm here, just stand up. Okay. My right leg, when I turn my knee in, I can't just turn my knee in. So stay really tight on me, right? I have to kind of back up with my leg on my toe. Now I can turn my knee in and put it on his hip. Once it's on his hip, keep driving and come in top of me. He can't come back. Some guys will even turn in so much that they give up the mount here. It's a very common response where the guy overreacts in and exposes your ability to, if not come to the mount, at least the quarter mount. And now I can cross face, collar grip, and start passing here, okay? So anytime you're entering for a knee cut and the guy comes up on that single leg really quick, be it with a half guard or just like trying to come up on his elbow, elevate that back leg and post your left hand on the floor. One other thought with this is to be careful about not giving up the deep half. If you give it up, it's not the biggest deal. If you know how to kill it, you can get through the position. But when I'm here and I have this back pant like this, and I'm here, I want to keep this left leg back. So I post my left hand on the floor and I go here. See, go for deep half now. See, I keep it back here. And now, even though he's grabbed my leg, because I have this top leg and my leg is so far back, try to rotate to your left to go deep half. Yeah, see, I can pull this leg back this way and keep him turned into me. And now I can start coming in, maybe grab the sleeve to set like we did before. Here, now I can cross face, finish the pass from there. All right, guys, so one other big thing to pay attention to when you're in this single leg guard is usually what the guy's doing here is when he has this single leg grip is he's feeding this lapel here, right? So he's gonna have this lapel. And one thing you really have to be careful of is with my left hand, this is why if I grab the sleeve, I'm leaning back to center him up. And when I'm passing, I'm posting this hand. The reason for this is if I let this guy get a good grip on my sleeve while he has this single leg grip, he can bump me and it's very hard because I can't post with his hand because it's stuck. So as he bumps, I'm gonna have to post with my right hand. And if you watch my video with Lucas Lepre, this is the system that Lepre uses all the time. Now he can come up, right? So whenever I'm fighting a single leg grip here, I have to be very, very careful of that, right? So if I'm here, if I grab the sleeve, I know he can try to grab me back. So I'm usually looking to get on the outside and pull it up. Now, even if he grabs me here, I'm not driving forward. I have my leg forward. I center him up here. I would get a cross collar grip. If he had this, I'd even break that before I go. Now, when I post my hand high, he can't grab this, right? I use the forearm pressure, I posture, and I slowly grind my way through for the pass. If I do the underhook method and he's got the lapel still, right? I'm here, I center him up, I get this underhook. As I go here, again, I keep that arm straight and I posture, and that slowly pulls this lapel out of his hand here, if you can see that. Right? He's got this lapel. When I get this underhook and I go straight as a board here, as I posture and lean up, it drags that lapel out of his hand, or at least really low. Now, once I break it, I can come down, and when he doesn't have that single leg grip, he can't bump anymore. So now it's a lot safer to try to finish the pass. Okay, so another common situation when you enter with this top pant control version is the guy's gonna get you in reverse De La Riva somehow. So when he gets me into reverse De La Riva, the first thing I really wanna focus on, I can change up, my left hand's on the floor sometimes it's on the lapel, sometimes my left knee's on the floor, sometimes I'm on my foot. The main thing is this top leg, I wanna pull it back past my body because that's gonna prevent him from inverting. If I just stay here and I'm loose with this, he might put this in my bicep and start trying to invert and come through, and there's a lot of things he can do from here, right? Usually he's gonna have the cross collar here. So as I hold this, he's gonna be stiff arming my neck trying to invert. So start trying to invert. And as long as I pull this back like this, he can't invert. Keep trying to invert. I can keep him stuck here. And now I can even start clearing this. And now we come into similar sequences as we did before. One common thing that'll happen is when you're here, you have the guy completely frozen. He's gonna get frustrated and try to grab this sleeve to break it because it's stopping him from inverting. Every time the guy thinks about going for that, he's exposing this club pass immediately. So if you know this sequence, that's such a common pass. So I'll be in here, I enter, I drop in like this, the guy starts messing, boom, and you drop. A lot of people like to go for that club pass, but the problem is that they're trying to force it. They're coming in here and they want a club and this guy's hand's ready to frame, or this is here, I can't club here. So I have to come in and I start trying to force this behind, and there he opens it, right? If he doesn't go to break it and he stays here on the collar, right, now I can just kind of keep slowly pulling this back, pop this straight, clear, and now I'm slowly starting to work my way in. Okay, so now like I talked about before, sometimes the guy's guard, he's gonna be in the center like this. So here, doing the knee cut's actually a little bit more difficult because the guy's knee is usually tight here. So normally toreandos and stuff is a little bit easier. But if I want to force this, I usually step into the De La Riva guard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on grabbing the foot early, and I'm going to push this foot out of the way, and I just step in to trap this leg. He's usually going to grab my ankle like this. From here, I'm going to switch my left hand. If you ever saw my video on the Leandro Low knee cut, I talk about this in a lot of depth. But basically, once I trap here, I'm now going to open the knee, I dig my underhook, and I posture and dig through for the knee cut here. If you're really good at killing the De La Riva guard, this is a really effective strategy. In fact, there's a lot of complicated open guards when I really don't want to deal with it, I just step into De La Riva guard. So his legs are moving a lot. It's very difficult to control the legs. The closer I am with my right leg, the harder it is for his legs to circle, right? It's like you're putting a pipe in the spokes of a wheel. So like, go real quick. So like if he's here and his legs are moving a lot, it's hard to kind of control these. But when I put my leg in the way, don't even grab, right? When I put my leg in the way, keep circling your legs. You see how my leg gets in the way and it crowds his legs out. If he doesn't grab my ankle now it's easy to start trying to toreando. So a lot of times I can kind of come in and just start forcing him here, and then I can start going for this blast knee cut, okay? Again, I won't go into that one too in depth because I did an entire video on it, the Leandro Low knee cut, but that's a great way if the guy's centered and you want to force the knee cut. Okay guys, so keep in mind, I'm showing the knee cut pass, but all of these different sequences, they should be combined with other techniques, right? So if he's on his back, for example, I can't go in going, I want to do a knee cut, I want to do a knee cut. I need to mix things. So I may come in and then threaten the toreando, he defends and turns to the side, and now I drop in for the knee cut. Or I may defend the knee cut and then he lassos, right? And I come back up here, and then now the toreando opens. So all of your techniques, that's the hard thing with developing in jiu-jitsu, is you can't force what you want, you have to take what they give you. So I'm giving you a broad overview of all these different options, but you need to mix them with the other threats. You can't just use the knee cut. But if you have a really good knee cut and you know where it fits, it's one of the most powerful passes in jiu-jitsu. Okay, so now let's look at when he's sitting up. So when they're sitting up, this is very, very complicated because it's way easier for the guy to set grips on you. So I try my best to get the pass, but you're not always gonna get it, okay? So one of my favorite ways to do it, if he's sitting centered, well, actually off the bat, if his hands are up in the center like this grip fighting, I like to grab their wrists or even their hand here and I push it to their chest and I can get them to their back. And now this can make it easy to start threatening the same attacks we did on bottom. That's just a nice trick in general. But if I really want to attack it from here, one thing I like to do is I'm going to grab his lapel with, we'll do it the same. I'm going to grab the lapel here and I step over on this side. So if no, stay here. Okay, if I step over here and I continue forward, we're gonna end up in this kind of like top leg control style, the homolo style knee cut, okay? Now, commonly, people, what they'll do is when I go here, he doesn't want this leg trapped, so he's gonna try to bring it out, which opens up the cut on the other side. I'll do that the opposite way. So I'm here, right? So I'm gonna end up knee cutting this way. So if I grab here and I go over here, if he stays and doesn't move, this is gonna end up becoming the second knee cut I showed you, the homolo style with the top leg and the lapel. Most guys, when you go for that, I'll go over here, he's gonna clear that leg out, which opens up the space to go for that one. That is an excellent way to set up this pass. Another really good one is, you don't always get this one, but it forces action from your opponent, is when I'm here, I can kind of push back and I'm just gonna shoot for the underhook and lunge my shin. If I get the pass, great. Even if I don't get the pass though, he has to respond to this. So he'll usually push and lasso, and now I got him on his back, and now I'm starting to come in and work my other pass sequences, okay? If I'm dealing with someone who's got one hand on the floor, okay, this can be a bit different because I can't just come in because he can keep backing up with that hand. So usually when that happens, I focus on the wrist or the arm. I'll either push this to his chest or I try to drag it and step around. If he doesn't respond, I can work to his back. Almost always when I get here, he's gonna fall to his back to defend. And now again, I got him on his back and I'm starting to go here and enter into the other sequences. All right, guys, here's a few bonus ideas on knee cuts that I like to do. Another one I like to do is when I'm passing here, I have a lot of pressure on the guy and I'll back up a little bit. And right when they start to sit up is a great moment to lunge in for the cut, because in that transition time from being on their back to sitting up, or vice versa, being sitting up and going to their back, people often expose their legs, and that's a great way to hit it. Another really cool one, if you're really good with alternating your leg lead, is you can hit the opposite side. So let's say I'm here and he's turned into me, right? So sometimes when the guy's knee shielded here and stuff, it can be a little tricky, right? So he's expecting this kind of like homolo style cut here, but what I can do if I'm good at alternating my leg lead is I'll step back with my right leg and in with my left leg, and now I'm in on like the low cut style on the other side. And this is a really good one. Rodolfo used to do this a lot as well. If you can learn to alternate leg lead, even if like, let's say you're not comfortable with your left leg lead, you can come in and start with a left leg lead just to fake it for a second, just to better set up your right leg lead knee cut. All right, guys, so now I'm going to include some sparring footage showing the techniques I showed in action. I find that helps a lot for understanding the positions when you see them in resistance in the right situations. After that, I'm going to show some of me coaching my class, because I find a lot of little problems come up when I'm coaching that I don't include in these videos, and it helps troubleshoot a lot of issues for you guys. If you guys like the content, please comment and like. It helps support the channel as well as gives me future ideas for videos to make for you guys. Also, if you haven't checked me out on Instagram before, at JohnThomasBJJ, I include a lot of smaller clips that I don't put in these, as well as a lot of sparring footage, so check that out as well. right? If I'm gonna do it off the Toreando, I find it's easier with the one arm because the two, sometimes like you're a little bit slower because I'm here, but if I just do like a quick one arm like this, see I'm already in and I kind of use my forearm to deflect this. And that makes it easy to land here.
Nice.
And a lot of times I don't even focus on grabbing the lapel as much as like, if I just do this in the air, you see my elbow prevents the underhook, he'll kind of reach for my cross collar with that hand. Like yeah, you want to go here, right?
Yeah,
you see, I'm already framing it, right? Huh. So I'll be here like this, like there, and he's here. You see, and that completely stifles his counter post. And then I go through and I often drop my elbow straight to the floor.
And you don't do any underhook. So you actually
no, not in this case. An underhook that only really works versus like a single leg or De La Hiva because they have a grip. But there can't really be, see like, I hold my pant leg like De La Hiva. See, if I was here and I hit this, there's an underhook, right? If he's on a single leg, grab like kind of a light single leg, here, there's an underhook. If there's no grip, it's really hard to have an action, like you could call this an underhook, but it's like he's gonna frame, you can't really have an underhook. So usually in these cases, I'm like here or even on the floor and I'm pulling and coming through. And if you feel like he's not open, again, you wanna take what they give you, you don't wanna force it. But if I wanted to try to force it a little bit, right here it's wide open, but say be more centered with your knees tight and your feet kind of up. Like here, I can kind of move around and threaten stuff like this. Even if I'm not gonna commit on the pass, he's gonna start responding, right? You see I go here, you see, look, it's there. So you can kind of play around with like moving around and stuff until you get him to over respond or tap the floor and you see the angle. But when you understand the pattern, that when this is open, it's there, you'll hit it all the time. The reason most people have a hard time is the guy's like shielded or something, so then they're coming in like this, and this is already in the way, and this is very difficult. I only keep the pant leg long enough to clear it. There's no reason to keep it beyond that point. So like if I was in here, even right here, I'd probably keep going, but I could just let go and get my elbow here, and now I'm like on the body, right? And again, I don't rush to the underhook, because sometimes people, like, if he doesn't have a grip, and again, there's a lot of variation on this. If he doesn't have a grip here, and I'm like, try to underhook like this, he's gonna pummel as I underhook, right? And then it's gonna become an underhook for him. So I'd rather almost keep my elbow tight like a wall, like this, because see, my body's got that leg out of play. He can't lasso, right? And dig an underhook on me. You see, like this is like, there's like no space in here to try to come in. It's like a wall. So then as he tries to dig an underhook, see, I'm here now, like I can flatten that and come through, right? So I just kind of stay here floating, and then this hand would probably look for the sleeve or the elbow, depending on what he's doing. A lot of people think the elbow's better because you get a better pull on the arm. I actually prefer the sleeve because he can't frame. If I go here, he can still push on my, he can still frame, right? But if you get the sleeve, not only can I pull it up, but frame me, see, I can push it across, and that's really good. So they both have benefits, but yeah, and then try to have like less tension in your arm. So I would be like here and like that. You don't want him to sense it, right? Here, actually, I would just do this, right? So be more, yeah, exactly. So if he was here, I would be like this. You see, it's hard, you don't feel it, right? No. So I'm like here, boom. Yeah, and if you don't clear the knee when you enter, that's fine. You can just take your time, right? Like if if you try to clear it and you can't and you land here, that's okay, just take your time, hold the lapel, right? And then now I'll try to center up and see, it's easier the more I center him to clear it behind. Now I come in here, you see, here I probably go like this and just frame it out, and then I can kind of make my decisions from here.